What must I do in order to obtain this gift of salvation? He offers it. We need to do something practical to accept it. Being justified freely, and this is Romans chapter 3, verse 24, being justified freely by His grace through redemption that is in Christ Jesus. You need to simply say, I accept it, receive it. You know, a lot of people think that God is going to force them into heaven. Sure, it is true, Jesus has done everything and provided everything you need to be saved, but you must act upon His provision. A father was sailing through some warm, calm Caribbean waters slowly on a vacation with his 2 teenage boys. He pulled them aside one day and he said, boys, next 3 or 4 days we're going through some shark-infested coral reef, no swimming. Well, the next day they forgot and they were chasing each other around the deck of this little sailboat, and one of them began to slip and go over the railing. He grabbed his brother's t-shirt and they both went splash off into the warm Caribbean water. A father was down below in the kitchen, the galley, and he heard the splash. He came running up, and he saw his boys were out there. They were good swimmers. And they were dunking each other and blaming each other and shouting at each other and calling to Dad to drop the anchor and lower the sail. The father did that, and he looked back at his boys, and he saw dark shadows below the surface of the water beginning to circle. And he said, boys, I see sharks. Start swimming quickly and calmly back to the boat. The boys looked at each other, and then they looked on the surface of the water, and it was calm, and they didn't see any dorsal fin cutting the surface. They'd watched too much TV. Sharks don't always do that. And they said, Dad's trying to scare us. We haven't seen any sharks for days. First time we fall in the water, he says, there's sharks. Let's show them we're not afraid. And they're going, oh, help, shark, shark. And they're pretending they were drowning and mocking their father. The father said, boys, there are sharks. Swim back to the boat. And he was frantic. He ran to the stern, and he threw a life preserver. And they said, we can make it back by ourselves. And they began to flop and splash and do these bizarre backstrokes on the way to the boat. The father understood the nature of sharks. You know, a shark, I've swum several times. I scuba and snorkel. I've swum with sharks, and typically they're cowards. But once a shark smells a drop of blood, they can smell 1 drop of blood in 38,000 gallons of water. They go into a feeding frenzy, sometimes even biting other sharks. And they close their circle until they come in and they take a sample bite to see if they're going to get resistance. But once they smell blood, the father saw them closing the circle, and he realized his boys did not believe him. And in a desperate act to save him, because more and more sharks were gathering, the father ran down into the galley. He grabbed a knife. He ran up on the deck. He cut his wrists. He dove into the water and swam away in a different direction. The boys saw the father dive off the stern and swim away, and then the water began to churn and turn pink. Now here's the question. If they choose to stay in the water, is there anything more their father can do for them? If after Jesus has died for your sin and you're still not getting in the boat, are you waiting for him to do something else? He's demonstrated how much he loves you. Now everybody comes to me later and they say, what happened to the boys? I made the story up, friend, sorry. Pretty good, huh? To illustrate a point. It's up to you what happens to the boys. Are you going to stay in the water with the devil, or are you going to get in the boat and come to the Lord? There's something we need to do. Question number 7. When I join his family through faith, what changes does Jesus make in my life?